Hey everybody, G for Games here once again, and I'm doing a video response to Alpha Omega Sin on one of the scariest video games I personally ever played. There's quite a few actually. I haven't played any this Halloween unfortunately, but if I could name a few, that would probably be all right. One of them would have to be by far Resident Evil. By far. I think he said that in his video. Yeah, he did. He said that in one of his videos. The zombies of that game were beyond terrifying. I remember when I was caught by a zombie when I was a little kid. I used to go around, you know, walk around the mansion, and then a zombie would come up. The first time we saw the zombie, the zombie that just turns his head around like this, and then you see his face all dead and stuff, and then he would get up and come right after you. It was beyond terrifying. When he did that, I was like, oh god, how am I gonna move this? I don't really know how to control this character. That's basically what happened to me back in the day. I didn't really know the controls. And of course, the zombie got me, and I covered my eyes. I even put a pillow on my face. I was like, "Oh God, oh God, oh God!" Yeah, it's fun. I was very young back then, so couldn't handle it. Yeah, that was definitely one of the scariest video games I've ever played. But the monsters in there that scared me the most was the running zombies. You know, the ones that have those claws and they just kind of like on the staircases, they just run at you. I'm like, oh snap! You had to realize this was actually the first time I actually saw a running zombie. You know, not since like Left 4 Dead or Zombieland or those other zombies that keep running. This was the very first running zombie I ever saw, and the fact they were running. See, when they're slow, at least you can run away for a little bit farther away and just start shooting at them. But when they run, it's like you have to really shoot them, like pew 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 pew, and you have to really keep your gun loaded because otherwise, then you'll have to reload it. Then these zombies might take a charge at you and just start cutting you up. Take more damage out of you. It was freaky. Yeah, I really did like that one, but that was the one of the games that actually frightened me the most. Another one would have to be BioShock. I know BioShock isn't much of a horror game, but if you think about it, there were certain aspects of it that made it frightening. One of them was have to be the Big Daddies. The Big Daddies scared me to death. This is BioShock 1. I'm not talking about BioShock 2. Um, BioShock 1, the reason why I was scared on that round was because the Big Daddies, as I already said before, were big, tough, had a drill, sometimes have a gun, and you were just this normal human guy. I mean, you had powers, but at the same time, you were very limited of fighting fighting this character. Like this character could literally beat you up to death. And that's what I was really scared about. When those things come near, they will run at you and they will charge at you. I was terrified. I mean, I was like, wow. I would be like, I'm getting out of here, I'm getting out, I'm running, 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 and you just start shooting at them, and it wouldn't do much damage. Th there have been so many people though that actually have found a way to destroy these Big Daddies pretty easily. In fact, you can go on YouTube and probably see a lot, really. And also the little girls. The little girls creep me out. The glowing eyes. You know, it's just when you see those little scary little girls, like the girl in the ring. It's just you just get creeped out a bit. Um, what was my other favorite? There's been a lot of them. Ah, that's right. Dead Space. Dead Space was once again one of the most terrifying games I played that year. It was unbelievably terrifying. You just go in there you think everything's all well. You're just something's gonna happen, and then next thing you know, these aliens are trying to get up on you. It really took the way of a horror movie kind of basics. You think that there's nobody behind you, and as soon as you look back, like, oh, there's nothing there. But as soon as you look again, there's something behind you about to come at you. Like, literally try to rip your skin off, try to rip you apart. It was, I loved it. It was basically one of my personal favorites. Like, especially the ending. The ending, oh my gosh. The first Dead Space ending was terrifying. Like, you think everything's fine. Like, he takes off his helmet, everything's good. Next thing you go, BAM! Like, ah! That monster just comes right out. And it's all loud, too. Like, especially if you, had your, you know, if you had the volume up on the TV or something, and that thing just, like, roared at you. If you had surround sound, now imagine that. And you turn it all the way up, and that thing in the end just goes right. You're like, ah! I literally jumped out of my seat and ran. And that was another. I was very scared on that round. Yeah, so Dead Space definitely a good one. I really like that one. What was another one? My other one would have to possibly be hmm, Fatal Frame. I think he also mentioned this. I remember playing the Frame series. The first one scared the hell out of me. I mean, like literally, like you go in there, there's ghosts everywhere. You don't know what's happening. You have to use the camera to like attack. Very, very frightening. It was beyond like scary. It was It was very creepy. And the fact is like you had to all these ghosts were around, you had to take pictures. It was creative. At the same time, it was terrifying. Like some of the ghosts, how they looked was, oh my god. I can imagine they making an HD version out of that. That was wow. Uh, Fatal Frame 2 also very terrifying, especially like all those different like some of those different endings. Like one in the ending when she leaves her sister behind or whatever the girl is, and then she looks back behind her and that woman is like walking up to her and she's like giving her that look, and then bam, we go to a part where she's by herself and she doesn't know where the other girl is. Terrifying stuff. It is beyond creepy. Oof. Another one would have to be, um, oh boy, I can't think of one. Oh yeah, Left 4 Dead. The reason why I picked this one was because, well, I know it's a shooting up zombie game, but the fact, if you think about it, there's like a ton of different zombies in here. Like there's the tanks, there's smokers, there's boomers, there's hunters, there's the witch, and then there's the ones that Left 4 Dead, too. I'm not gonna name them all. Like the fact is, you're surviving. Imagine, playing by yourself. If you think about it, like online, like I know you have four survivors, but just imagine playing by yourself. But you have to realize this. I played by myself, and the other three were just computers, and well, let's just face it, the computers don't really help as much. And I remember I was just running off and saying, "Screw this, I'm gonna run off." Next thing I know, a pile of zombies just run towards me and just start clawing me, and I'm dead. And the whole game has to start over from the beginning. I'm like, damn. It's like it's crazy. The tanks, all the smokers and the hunters when they just jump on you like start ripping you apart. It is insane. I really really enjoyed that. I actually liked it how they add like so many zombies in there. Like you had to be careful when you shoot too. Like you can just shoot these zombies. Like if you shoot them, like you may accidentally hit a car. Alarms start going off and here they all they call them the zombies. Here come all the zombies, ready to kick your ass and stuff. Like just start killing you and everything. Yeah, that's definitely one of my other terrifying ones, and really that that was probably one of yeah. So that was actually one of my favorite, but also one of my favorite online games too. So there's another one I just can't think of it. Oh yeah, now I remember. It just popped in my head. Um, the Suffering. I don't think this game gets enough credit. This, I mean, they made a number two, but we never seen number three. I mean, in my opinion, they should try to make it again. The Suffering was the most terrifying PS2 game I've ever played. Like the fact that you're in a prison, and the next thing you know, all this hell breaks loose. creatures with like knives on their hands, knives on their, well, more like blades on their legs, and they start running after you like they start walking like spiders and stuff, and they start slashing you, and then there's all these other monsters, and this is like dark. This is like dark. When you walk up, you hear them, and they just appear out of the darkness, just coming after you. They come up and they go up on the ceiling. They're just crawling around. They're just wondering, like, oh my god, what's happening? It's insane, and it's very, very terrifying. Like, you don't know where they are, especially if you played it hard. Imagine you played on like hard difficulty with like, difficulty is easy, normal, hard. Imagine you played on hard. Oof. Ties of Bond was also good, but the thing is, I didn't really like Tide. I just I can't even remember the name I just said a second ago. Ties that Bind. Yeah, there we go. The thing is, I didn't like about that as much was the fact, well, let's just say you're in a city and there's full of people. In the first one, you were in a prison and you were very, 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 very limited space. Like you're literally in a hallway with these things just coming at you. It's insane. It's by far terrifying. Oh, and also those little cut scenes where like like if you do this one thing, like when you're electrocuting this guy numerous of times, and then the wife's voice comes out, and this red background appears out for a second, then disappears slowly. It it terrified. It like completely terrified me. Uh, what else? Yeah, that's basically what I have to think about that game. Usually, sometimes I like darker places. For for most of the part, I did like Ties at Mine, but I prefer number one. Here's the most terrifying video game of them all that I played. Uh, it's so terrifying. I actually have to show you by paper because I'm too scared to even say the name. You ready? Here it is. I give you the most terrifying game of them all. Here we go. I can't look. Here it is. Ugh. Get that out of here. That's just terrifying. Just mentioning and just writing down that name was terrifying to me. I'm gonna have nightmares for weeks. I'm just kidding. I know Superman 64 isn't like a horror game or nothing like that. But if you got me to play it, like if somebody dared me to play this game, like I'd be scared just thinking about it. Like, oh man, you want me to play this game? Like, no, that would scare me just playing that game. As you already can tell, I love Nintendo 64 games, and playing that game terrifying. It's it can scare anybody. It's like playing. It's like, say this. This would be the only thing that's scarier than that. If you had a day and your buddy just dared you to play E.T. the Extraterrestrial and Superman 64, and you had to play this one for an hour, you had to play this one for an hour, every single hour for like 12 hours, that would scare me. That would just, oh boy, that would terrify me anyway. I'm sure that's going to terrify any other gamer who knows how bad these games are. But anyway, yeah, that was basically my list of my most terrifying games. I'm sure there's plenty of them, pretty much more of them. The reason why I didn't put Bioshock 2 on this is because you were the big daddy, and basically you were the one basically doing all the killing and stuff. Not really much of a terrifying game. Alright, well, this is G for Games, giving a video response to Alpha Omega Sin. Signing out.